Anby's demo changed everything. Honestly, I had a completely different script in mind originally for Anby and Soldier 11. And then Soldier Zero's demo came out, and I had to scrap everything because originally I had the idea that Anby was the original super soldier, kind of like an anime girl version of Captain America. And because of that, she was Soldier Zero and all the other soldiers were clones of her. But her demo kind of proved me wrong because it was clearly shown that Anby isn't the original either. I think it's more likely now that Anby, Soldier 11, and the rest of Silver Squad were attempts to artificially recreate a Void Hunter. But before we dive deeper into Anby and Soldier 11's past, you probably know that Soldier Zero Anby is coming out soon, and if you're like me, you're probably pulling for her too. And if you're more like me, you might need a little help in the form of top-ups. And that's where the partner for today's video comes in, LootBar GG. LootBar GG finds the best possible prices for top-ups, giving you a huge discount compared to the original price. I have personally used and tested LootBar GG, and it has saved me money on my pools. So if you're looking to top up for Soldier Zero Anby or any of the upcoming characters in Star Rail, Genshin, or any of the other plethora of other games that LootBar GG covers, click the link below to save up to 21% or more on the top-up for your chosen game. Thank you so much, LootBar GG, for being the partner for this video. Now back to the theory. Since the beginning of ZZZ, I had originally thought that Anby lost her memory. It wasn't explicitly said, but it kind of felt implied. Well, at least to me it was. Before the 1.6 trailer, what we knew about Anby wasn't exactly that much. She worked for the Cunning Hares under Nicole, an odd job agency that takes Hollowayter jobs. She likes movies and burgers. Like really likes burgers. At the time, all we knew of her backstory was that she was found in a hollow by Nicole in a pretty bad state. Apparently, she didn't even have a family name, so Nicole gave her hers, Damara. And so Anby Damara joined the Cunning Hares and went to work for Nicole in her organization, and also as the face of Zenless. Literally. Anby doesn't have a clear understanding of social structures and communication, so she learned a lot from movies, for better or worse. Now, it was clear that she has some sort of mysterious past and had a connection with Soldier 11. They have the same white-colored hair, same orange-colored eyes, they both use a very similar type of sword, and an elementally charged backpack, with a very similar combat style. And oddly enough, they also have a very similar type of specific obsession with a single type of food. To top it all off, in one of Soldier 11's trailers, she's in a tough spot, and she's remembering her training, which took the form of a mental image of a shadowy version of Anby, implying that Soldier 11 was also trained by Anby, which also implies that Anby was not only a part of the defense force, but also a commanding officer. This was also confirmed by Anby herself during her companion mission, as she says that she had a previous job as something like a drill instructor. So this obviously brings up the question, what exactly is Anby and Soldier 11's relationship? This is one of the longest running mysteries in ZZZ. Are they sisters, robots, clones, or maybe all of the above? See, one of the most interesting things that keeps popping up between Soldier 11 and Anby is that they keep referring to each other as sisters, but not really. During the Gilded Carrot Day event after her side quest, Soldier 11 mentions that the closest thing she has to a sibling was the Silver Soldier, or as we know her, Soldier Zero Anby. And during the 1.6 livestream, Anby mentions that she and Soldier 11 are sisters, but not in a traditional way. This confirms that they are not blood-related sisters, at least not in the way that we normally think of them. Because if they were, there would be no reason for them to clarify that they aren't true sisters. This also implies that they aren't just orphans that grew up in the same foster home, because again, why not just clarify that point? It's not something odd or unheard of. So there has to be something specific about Soldier Zero and Soldier 11's birth that is different than the normal means, which brings us to the other options, robots or clones. I doubt Anby and the Silver Squad are robots, even though there was some electricity coming out of the damaged soldiers in the Soldier Zero demo. It could very well be possible that they have some sort of cybernetics within their body, which isn't really uncommon throughout ZZZ. Caesar has a metal arm and so does Enzo too. But the main thing that really makes me doubt the robotics theory is that Anby in the 1.6 trailer mentions that their existence is, quote, evil. And to be honest, robots and AI are not taboo in New Eridu. There are plenty of them, and they all live their own lives in peace with humans and other species. So this brings into the point that the methods in which Anby and the rest of Silver Squad were made is something that isn't known to exist in New Eridu. And this brings us to clones, which could be true depending on how you look at it. As I mentioned before, I originally had a theory that all of the different soldiers in Silver Squad were supposed to be clones of Anby, and her title suggested Soldier Zero was the original. And I was going to speculate that she was an orphan that the Defense Force took in, trained, and was given some sort of super soldier serum a la Captain America, again, anime girl version. And from their success to clone the original and create squads or even an army of super soldiers. That's typically the whole point of cloning. It's to create a fast, strong army. While yes, it is to replicate someone or something, the main point has always been to have multiple of that thing. But they contradict that in Anby's demo, as the scientists only want to keep one. Why? If they are all soldiers that listen to commands and they are all strong enough to take down powerful ethereals, why get rid of any of them? Why not make more? And I think the answer to those questions lie in the key word that the scientists use throughout the Soldier Zero demo, Replica. Not only to the rest of the soldiers, but also it was implied that Anby herself was also a replica. See, being Soldier Zero didn't mean that she was the original. It probably just meant that she was the first, or even the best. But that also means that all of Silver Squad's soldiers were made to replicate someone, most likely a Void Hunter. It makes sense. Void Hunters are heroes. They are powerful and strong enough to take on hollows on their own. I mean, look at Miyabi. She single-handedly slew a disaster-level ethereal and stopped the growth of a potential great hollow in less than 5 minutes. She became a hero. She has fans and soldiers who would do anything to work under her, and she leads one of the most successful squads in hand. She has influence. And if we assume that the rest of the Void Hunters are around the same level, if not stronger, because remember, Miyabi was only said to be the youngest, not the strongest Void Hunter in New Eridu, then you have potentially 7, it's assumed that there are 7 Void Hunters at any time, nuclear bomb level people running around New Eridu with similar levels of influence and authority to leaders of government. And that's scary, especially if you're one of the heads of New Eridu, because not all Void Hunters are associated with the military. In fact, many of the original had nothing to do with the government. Some of them were even mercenaries. So what happens if a Void Hunter decides they don't want to listen anymore, or worst case, they want to rebel and use their influence as heroes to cause panic and discord in the last bastion of humanity? It could cause a coup, or even worse, in all that chaos, it could cause the end of civilization as we know it. So if the military can't rely on the heroes of humanity, then the best solution is to create your own heroes, to make an artificial Void Hunter that they could control. Someone that is not only as strong as the current Void Hunters, but also using that strength to become a hero and a symbol to inspire the citizens to join the military and keep the peace in New Eridu. And so to create an artificial Void Hunter, wouldn't it be best to start with the foundation of a real one? Lady Sunbringer, the CEO of Marcel Group and the inventor of the bamboo. But most importantly, she destroyed the Hive Lord Hollow, earning her the recognition as one of the first Void Hunters. Noticeably, both Anby and Soldier 11 has similar colored hair as Sunbringer, and they also share orange eyes, which matches one of the 2 colored eyes that Sunbringer has. Now, that is all I have to relate Silver Squad with Sunbringer, because honestly, we just don't have enough information about her. It's highly possible that Silver Squad was meant to replicate a different Void Hunter, one that we haven't met yet. We only really know of one Void Hunter in this generation, and that's Miyabi. So now really comes the point of what happened to Silver Squad. The only hints we have are that Anby mentions that she woke up to find her squad mates all buried in rubble, and that it was her duty to die for Soldier 11. Soldier 11 has a particular hatred for traitors, and finally, the scientist in Soldier Zero's trailer mentions that there is only supposed to be one successful replica. Based on these points, what I think happened is actually pretty simple. The people in charge of creating replicas of Void Hunters were running out of time, and they needed to show a result, a soldier as strong as Sunbringer, and so they ran one final test, having all of Silver Squad go into a mission destined to fail and then sabotage them, causing whatever crisis they could, explosions, ethereal waves, and destruction, trying to ensure that only one of them came back alive. Assumingly, that one would be the strongest. After all of the traps, only Anby and Soldier 11 were alive, but Anby probably understood at this point that this was all set up to ensure that only one of them came back alive. And to ensure that Soldier 11 would be allowed to live, Anby deserted. But from Soldier 11's point of view, who probably only saw Anby running away, she could only make the assumption that Anby used this chaos to desert Silver Squad. Or even worse, Anby caused all of her teammates to die just so she could escape the defense force. At the end of it all, with Soldier 11 being the only survivor, she was probably determined a failure as she wasn't as strong as a Void Hunter, and the experiment was discontinued. Soldier 11 was then assigned to a new team in the defense force and just became an elite soldier. And from there, Anby was found by Nicole, and then comes the main story. This was the most likely scenario I can think of as to what might have happened to Silver Squad and why the experiment isn't even around anymore. Which brings us to the final part of this video. Who is trying to revive Silver Squad and why? We know that in Soldier Zero's story quest, Soldier 11 is in trouble and being pursued by the organization that's trying to revive Silver Squad. This causes Anby to put her old uniform back and then works with Trigger in order to save Soldier 11. Since this organization's goal is to revive Silver Squad, it makes sense as to why they're going after Soldier 11, as she is the last remaining survivor of Silver Squad on paper, and what they assume is the last remnant of the cloning technology. We could probably assume it's not any of the military or government-based organizations such as the Defense Force, HAND, or even the HIA, because there would be no need for them to go that far to get that information. They would simply just request the files and research that was done on Silver Squad, or just request for Soldier 11 to be transferred. And that only leaves the non-government organizations, and among the ones that we know of, there's really only one that has enough power and funds to hire mercenaries to capture Soldier 11. TOPS. TOPS is an organization that is made up of the wealthiest families that control the major industries in New Eridu, shown to have a lot of political power and the ability to have their hands in a lot of different government affairs. They have already been shown in the story to be an antagonistic organization that has interests mainly in profits and business, as shown in Miyabi's trailer when they were trying to blow up the Shiyu pillar, which would have caused many deaths, but mainly would have protected their assets. But this scene also shows why I think they're after Soldier 11, because no matter their political power, the military organizations don't like them and the Void Hunters don't listen to them. So how else can they secure power to ensure that every decision favors them? Well, by making their own military. One thing that was noted in the 1.6 trailer was the length in which the organization was going through to revive Silver Squad was definitely more than what was necessary. And that's because they aren't trying to revive Silver Squad for their original intention, to make a Void Hunter. They were trying to revive Silver Squad to make an army that is fully in their control. TOPS literally has all the money in the world. They could fund this project and probably many times over. And if they succeed, then they would have all the remaining power in New Eridu. And that's everything for this theory. If you made it to the end, I really appreciate it. I know at the time I'm posting this, 1.6 is coming out in like a few days, so hopefully I'm not immediately proven wrong. Or maybe I'm right. As always, if you like these types of theories, let me know by liking and subscribing, and leave your own thoughts and theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Peace.